Greetings, YouTubian buddies. I am Ultimate 23 Dragon, and I'm going to review a very touchy subject. Now, back on August 9th, there was an incident between Tony Stewart and a driver by the name of Kevin Ward Jr. It was a sprint car race somewhere in New York, and after Ward had spun out and crashed, he attempted to confront Stewart while he was still rolling in his car, and somehow they collided, which resulted in Kevin Ward Jr.'s death. Now, we have some people saying that Ward got too close, he shouldn't have done that, he caused that. There are some people calling for Tony Stewart's head, so I'm going to try and figure this out for everyone. Because I do all these different reviews in terms of my own investigations. So here we have the 14 car and the 13 car, which is Stewart and Ward respectively. And the first thing that you will see here is as they go into turn 1 and 2, it looked to me as if Ward drifted a bit too high once Stewart got under him, because if they would have collided, one or both might have flipped, and Stewart surely would have crashed. Because of the, what's the word I'm looking for? The fragility, I guess, of the sprint cars in terms of how those particular vehicles work. And so, a few seconds after the crash had happened, for some reason, Kevin Ward gets out of his car and starts going on one of those rage tirades of sorts. Now, I paused the video here because there's a couple of things that you should notice before said collision happened. Watch closely as this red and white car almost hits him, from my perspective. And then, for some reason, Ward goes down the racetrack and almost gets hit by this blue and white number 45 car here. And so after that happened, Ward apparently tried to take some sort of shot at Stewart while Stewart was trying to avoid him, but was not able to in time, thus the collision, and eventually after said collision, Kevin Ward was lost. Now, let's review this in slow motion a little bit because I want you guys to see what I saw. You can clearly see that after the white and orange 10 car passes by, he goes down the racetrack to do some kind of confrontation, almost gets hit by the 45 blue and white car before he tried attacking Stewart, who was still in his car. And when Stewart tried to avoid him, you can see that the front part of Stewart's car missed him. So, no, Stewart didn't try to run over him on purpose. Unfortunately, the right rear tire managed to catch Kevin Ward's legs and eventually made a collision that eventually took Kevin Ward's life. So, I got a couple of still shots for you. There's this one where he, oh, that's the Stewart's car, okay. You can see totally right here that it looked as if Stewart might hit him with Ward's right leg sticking out, but when you can tell the pattern of the tires, Stewart was actually trying to go left. Here's the next one that clearly shows that Stewart's right front tire would clearly miss Kevin Ward, which means if Ward would have tried something to go after Stewart for some reason, he probably would have missed completely. Unfortunately, it seemed that Ward tried to take some sort of shot at Stewart. As you can clearly see right here, you don't see any evidence of any issue with this particular still, which means that Ward's probably still on his feet. And you can tell by this angle that little line thing right behind the back end of Stewart's car, That's apparently one of the limbs from Kevin Ward. I think it's his left arm, because he tried to take some sort of shot. Then you see the beginning here, as you can see Stewart's left front tire gets scrolling up a bit, and it turns to the right. In addition, the left rear tire, from the last still to this still, also gets abruptly turned because the right rear is no longer on the pavement. It's on Kevin Ward's legs, I believe, as the unfortunate collision begins to happen. Now, if you know the schematics of how these cars turn while racing and under caution, you'd be clearly noted at this point that based on what I'm seeing, Tony Stewart did not intentionally run over Kevin Ward Jr., nor did he intend to. Based on everything that I have seen, it's clearly seen to me that this was a collision that was caused by Ward being upset at Stewart. My best guess is that's because he thought that maybe Stewart might have pushed up and made him get out of the groove to make him crash, because there was no contact, as you could see. Otherwise, Stewart probably would have crashed out as well, and nothing would have happened in terms of Ward being struck down. So, based on what I'm seeing, to me, it's a tragic incident in which, basically, I believe that it was Ward's rage that took him out. Now, there are other people who made the assumption that the track was not lit as bright as it should have been. And based on this still, you can't tell much of a difference between the shadow and the light, so I can see that as plausible, because cameras have different things that can brighten up an area, so that would not surprise me as well. In addition, I also believe that this I heard from SportsCenter on August 11th would help.
People say that they heard the engine rev up and he gassed it. A sprint car, the only way to steer, you steer with the rear wheels as much as you do the steering wheel. So, in my opinion, what he did was he gassed it to turn down away from him. And that is exactly what it looked like from what I saw. Taking it from a person that was there and witnessed it, that Tony Stewart did steer down as abruptly and quickly as he possibly could. It was a tragic accident, and then a mistake was made. And in my opinion, the blame game of everybody pointing fingers to one or the other is not fair to either Tony Stewart, his family, or more importantly, the Ward family.
In the end, I do believe that whatever rage that Kevin Ward was going through is what caused this, in terms of, it looked to me as if he was going to try and attack Stewart. And unfortunately, when he did, he got too close to Stewart's car, and that's what cost him his life. I would not blame any one person in particularly. It was just a tragic accident from that forefront. Now, for you guys who want to rage out on Tony Stewart, I suggest you don't. Because it's clearly shown that this was not an intentional thing. You clearly know up to this point he is pretty much shaken from this. And it's pretty much obvious that this incident is going to have a huge effect on him as well, from a mental standpoint. Because regardless of what all of us combined think, the fact that it was Stewart's car that took this guy's life, that's going to wane on him. And for you people who say that he intentionally murdered Kevin Ward Jr., you're probably the same people who still say that Sterling Marlin murdered Dale Earnhardt. And believe me, there are some people that still think that to this day, so I would not be surprised if that's the same group of people trying to say that Stewart murdered this guy. No, he didn't. Marlin did not murder Earnhardt, and Stewart did not murder Kevin Ward Jr. It was a simple accident in which Ward's rage took over, he tried to go after him, and that unfortunately caused the collision that took this young guy's life. So, all in all, I do not think that Stewart will be charged with anything because it was a simple, tragic collision. And let this be a lesson about the dirty, aggressive driving style. The ones who go to that kind of rage against others. You don't try and go after drivers on the racetrack. It doesn't work that way. Try and do this, maybe one-on-one person on pit road, but don't try and go after a person in the car. That's the true lesson with this story. I offer my condolences to Kevin Ward Jr. and his family, because this should not have happened. And maybe there'll be some sanctions made about the lighting, because that could be a factor into this. And there's also the possibility that there could be some new rule changes, which wouldn't surprise me. And also, can I make a request to you sprint car people of the world? Can you please ban the number 13? I've seen too many disasters in the sprint car world involving the number 13, and someone gets killed with that number. Because if I ain't mistaken, that's the same number that Jason Leffler was driving his sprint car when he lost his life. But anyway, basically to assess this is a matter of someone's rage getting the best of him, trying to get some payback on the person that he thought done him wrong, and it cost him his life. I think this was a good opportunity to teach the people of the dirty, aggressive style what that kind of racing can do. And that's all I can say about it for right now. Tony Stewart did not murder this guy. It was an honest, tragic accident. And that's my final answer.